And here we go. All right. So, Brad, so I want to thank you, first of all, because I really appreciated the messages that you sent me on TikTok. Um, you were commenting on a lot of my videos. And I really appreciate creating connections like that kind of grow organically, especially in the social media stratosphere. It's kind of my forte with podcasting is I meet someone and I'm like, hey, I kind of like the way you think. You want to join me? You want to have a conversation? Because ultimately my philosophy is we struggle with conversation, right? We don't know how to
Yes.
talk to each other. And so the premise behind my whole podcast was really influenced by a man named Theodore Zeldin. And he wrote a book called Conversation. And he's this old grandpa guy who travels all around the world just to have conversations with people. And his philosophy is that we really can't expand our experience just through our own ignorant, narrow views and stories, right? We already know our stories, but we don't know other people's. And it's when we learn other people's stories that we essentially expand our own purview of the world, right? And kind of go, oh, now I have another layer of understanding of humans. So essentially that's the jive behind my podcast. And I kind of took on that mission too. It's like that's a great idea because I love conversation. Like if you ask me what my hobby is, it's like sitting in front of a cup of coffee with a friend talking like all day. Um, so yeah, so that's really like what I want to do. And I just think a lot of the stuff that we talked about are going to be excellent topics for people to listen to help them really learn how to communicate better within their own relationship dynamics. So we'll get
Yeah.
into all that. But Brad, tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do? How long you been in your relationship? Do you have kids? Give
Sure.
me the bio, sir.
Okay, yeah. So I'm a 45-year-old male. I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, so above Wisconsin.
Okay. Okay.
I do Amazon sales. There was a small mom and pop motorcycle ATV company. They were struggling financially. They brought me in to see if I could help them with online sales. Turned into like a $5 million a year business of that portion of it.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's been really good. Um, I'll go back. So I do have a son who lives around your area, through a prior relationship, through my marriage before the divorce. Met her in my late 20s, early 30s, decided to have a child. Unfortunately, he was born with a heart defect. He was born like half a heart. Didn't find out until he was born that he had that medical condition. Then he's flown down to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we spent months there originally. And then, a year or two later, we spent 6 months straight in the hospital with him for these kind of complications. That was a really rough time in our life. Lost a house, lost a car, all that kind of stuff. The marriage started to dissolve before the child was there, right? Like in my mind, she started doing the nesting thing. She wanted a cat, so we got a cat. She wanted another cat, got another cat. She wanted a dog, she got a dog and her dog. So I thought, it's because she wants a baby. She wants a child. So let's have a baby, right? But looking back, it was not really it. They say children can't save relationships, right? You've
No.
all heard
Mm-mm.
that, right? And I don't really know where that relationship completely went wrong.
Yeah.
Because even now we're divorced, we're still really good friends. Like,
That's
when I go
awesome.
visit my son, I spend the night there. I'll spend the weekend there.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so we get along really well, because we didn't end in a bad spot. We basically realized we're just roommates. Neither of us are very happy in that situation. I was less happy than she was, but for a child to grow up, my belief is they need to see their parents in a loving relationship. They need to have guidance on this is what a healthy relationship looks like. This is how healthy people communicate, healthy people show affection. That's really important to me because that's what I want my child to see as they grow up.
Mm-hmm.
So my current partner, we've been together for over 7 years now.
Okay.
Amazing woman. Her life story, I mean, is just insane. We'll get to that, but amazing woman. Really has taught me a lot about the woman's perspective, especially because she is a narcissist, and so a lot of the perspectives of many women is heightened for her. I don't want to call it, how do you call that? Like, how do I say that? You know, so like how people form a connection in the beginning, a relationship, what each partner will do for each other, how the conversations move back and forth, and how they each get things they want to create that initial spark to everything. As a narcissist, she's really good at creating those connections. I mean, that's what feeds her. And through our conversations over the years and just understanding, you know, kind of how it was just a heightened sense of womanhood for her, you know, it was really interesting. And then, yeah, so
Okay,
that's
so
kind
that's
of,
really interesting because I have to say, you know, what the experts tell us is there's really no hope for a narcissist, right?
oh, that's so
Someone
wrong.
who's been, I tell me about it. It pushes against everything I believe about the power of transformation. But the experts will tell you, right? Narcissistic personality disorder is an awful personality disorder. It can crush relationships. And basically, a lot of these expert voices will say things like they're basically irredeemable. And you're going to have to learn how to just sacrifice ever having a healthy, functional relationship. And, you know, I just want to say, like, ever since I started hearing these kind of narratives, I thought, this can't be it, right? Like, well, number one, the field of psychology and psychiatry has been nothing but phenomenally impressive in the advancements that we make in understanding the human brain, right?
Mhm.
So are you telling me we're just at
Right.
a wall? We can't go any further. And I hear all these people all the time. Yeah, it's because they're a narcissist, and that means they're toxic, they're done. You can't
Yep.
have people like that. And I think this goes against everything humanity stands for, right? Like you can get, suffering is the road to salvation. You are redeemable, right? Love is transformative. And I think, well, what's the case here? So she was diagnosed with this. She's living with it. You're in a
Mhm.
functional relationship with her.
Yep.
And I think what's interesting is you said she has a heightened sense of her kind of nature.
Absolutely.
Do you know it's
Absolutely.
funny? And Simone de Beauvoir pointed this out, you know, back when her big thesis, The Second Sex, came out, is essentially that women are naturally narcissistic creatures, and we must be, right?
Mhm.
And that plays into to the mating selection process and
Mhm.
basically our evolutionary and biologically wired
Yeah.
programs, right?
Yeah.
The reason a woman in the feminine spirit is so narcissist is because that's what it takes to pretty much make sure species survives.
Yeah. Yep.
And so when we think about MPD being kind of that hyperized version of femininity in a woman, where I would probably then venture to guess that in men it's more of the hyper masculine
Yep.
focus, right? And your
Aggression.
masculine tendencies taking over and ultimately struggling maybe with the integrative process. But I just think that's so interesting. So anyway, so I'd like to hear about that. So you hear
Sure.
about this
Yeah,
and
absolutely. So she's
yeah.
actually very frustrated because she sees TikTok videos about how
Mm,
bad narcissists are and
yeah.
stuff. And the thing is I'll start with how her transformation happened, right? Because I would love to take a lot of the credit. I can't. A lot of it was internal, right?
Yeah.
So she was narcissistic for her entire life, started in childhood, and I believe it's kind of a coping mechanism
Hmm.
from childhood trauma, when you basically have to rely on yourself for the affirmation that you matter and stuff like that. You seek ways to get that from other people because you're not getting it from your parents, right?
Right.
Her mom is doing really good now. I mean, like this is I don't want to talk about bad parents because the relationship right now is so good. But
That's
anyways,
good.
so through her teens, she used people. She knew how to manipulate men, especially to get what she wanted. The dopamine hits is what she
Mm,
chased. The getting the guys to want her and then just abandon them to go to the next guy, but always keeping the other man on a leash, right? Always having a small little thread of control over them because that's where the power came from. That's what gave her the dopamine, right? She controlled these men. And she went through her first marriage. She went through other relationships like that. She met a gentleman, and they decided that they were going to have a child together. She tried, believing that she could change this other narcissist
mm,
who was a drug addict, a serial cheater, an abusive person. She thought that she could change him because they have a child together. He will change. He will be a better person.
yeah.
And that broke her. That really broke her, right? She had to basically being abused physically, mentally, and then basically had to stand up for herself after all that and say, enough is enough. And then she left. And then she had her child with her, she was protecting. And then at that point, she started looking into some of her behaviors, not a lot, but some of them, trying to be a better person. And then when we got together, I am a very laid back, tell me anything. I don't get offended. I don't judge you. Your past, it makes you who you are. It's my philosophy. I don't care what you did in the past. If I like to present you, I'm glad that happened because that led up to who you are today.
Mm-hmm.
So me and her having these deep conversations. She's, slowly divulging secrets about her past as she becomes more comfortable with me. And then realizing that some of the stuff that she was so afraid of telling me, because it does sound so awful. And she tells me it, and then I'm kind of letting her know, yeah, but here's how that person felt, and here's what that did. And she's like, yeah, I can kind of see that. And then she started developing empathy towards me. She didn't have empathy the first year and a half of our relationship. She was a narcissist, right? So empathy is not something they're really good with. And then through our relationship, the more communication, the more trust I gave her, I didn't put control on her, right? One of the things that she said as a narcissist was, if someone told her she couldn't do something, that made her want to do it. So if I told her she couldn't talk to other men, that's what she's going to do. If I told her she can't flirt, that's exactly what she's going to do. For me, it was more like, I don't care what you do as long as you're looking out for, you're not trying to hurt me. And she never felt the need to do that. She never felt the need to go out and aggressively do these things like she had to in the past. And then she started really looking back at her past behaviors. And even now, right now, we had a conversation just a little bit ago where she says that she recognized that she might have been using someone for a dopamine hit. Mm. And she felt comfortable talking to me about it, right? Because I understand. And then, she's brought up multiple times how in previous relationships and previous people, how she would manipulate them to get what she wants. And now she actively pays attention to those behaviors to make sure she doesn't do it. She's multiple times, she said, a part of me wanted to do this. And I realized that that's not what I should do. And it actually made her feel, I don't want to say in love with herself, but it made her feel a certain way that she made that other choice.
Yeah.
Really good and powerful about herself, because she's always going to be a narcissist. She knows that. I know that. She's never going to be able to change her behaviors completely, but she could manage them and do them in a way that's not harming other people.
Yeah.
Because
yeah. Sorry. I was just going to say, and also because, and one of the reasons that it is hard for someone living with narcissistic personality disorder is that it essentially intertwines into your personality, right? And your personality is something that you kind of mold in the beginning of your childhood based on your influences. And so that's why it is so difficult, because you're ultimately trying to shift like fundamentally who you are inside, right? And so for her to be able to overcome that, recognize and walk in awareness of her own personality traits, right? And her own habits and her own proclivities to different behaviors, just because something activates in her, for her to kind of stop and be a witness to that and make another choice is awesome. I mean, that is transformative.
Yeah.
And I think,
and the thing is, yeah, and here's what gets me is, right, is like when her doctor or psychiatrist, when she got evaluated, they told her she was an actual narcissist. The woman that was talking to her said that most doctors and nurses and these kind of people are narcissists because they have to be, in order to succeed in that field where you can kind of see people dying day in, day out,
yeah,
and not form these emotional connections with these people, and have this heightened self-importance, right?
yeah,
That you need that to be that. And no one looks bad at doctors or nurses. We all assume they're amazing people. They're great people. They're still narcissists, right?
yeah.
Like they're still narcissists. I guess any celebrity, right?
I'm with you on that. They're always an ego, right? And that's
Yeah.
the trait about NPD, is that typically they spend most of their time in ego, right? They're never handing the reins back over to the authentic self. The ego always has control. And I think you would need to depend on that in order to not shatter your reality, right? As an actor, right? And I think that all the time. You have to be high in ego. If you have any kind of high status or high profile career, if you're in front of an audience all the time, even Jordan Peterson to a degree has to have a level of narcissism in order to, I'm good at what I do. I'm confident in what I do. And, I always wonder, like, what if we just shifted the way we view narcissism, right? Instead of just always putting it in this box of it's bad and it's like psychopathy and it destroys and it's toxic. It's like, okay, but it is just a result of somebody's like childhood, right? Because ultimately narcissism is derivative of our childhood influences, whatever unhealed wounds we have, whatever traumas we experienced. And it's a production of dysfunction, but it comes from our parents, right? And so, well, the disappointing part about it for me is like, you get your diagnosis, that's it, you're a narcissist for life. And I'm like, is that like being an alcoholic for life? You're just
Right.
always an addict, nothing ever changes. And then I think, well, especially if you're repeating over and over again, I am my diagnosis, I am my addiction, I am
Mhm.
this, you're going to live in that, you're going to over identify it. It could to a degree exacerbate the problem, right? And so, and then I know this isn't like something a lot of people would even want to speculate on, but there's this idea too. We do see that psychology and psychiatry is directly linked to the pharmaceutical industry. So if the
There's no
goal is to
drug for that.
there's there's no cure for all of these
Mhm.
things, but there's pills, and you got to keep coming in and you got to keep seeing a therapist and someone who keeps telling you you're a narcissist, you're pardon me, you're redeemable. They're always going to keep coming back for the service and paying for the program. And so there's a little bit of that. That's where I would go, right? I'd have a little bit of skepticism behind this idea that just once you're diagnosed with something, that's it, and just you just got to deal with it and treatment forever. And so it's about being mindful. The one thing I always tell my clients, especially the ones who tell me, I've been diagnosed with this and da da da, I'm like, but you're also not your disease, you're not your dysfunction, right? You're not your diagnosis. It's a part of you. It helps explain things about you, but that's
Mhm.
ultimately not who you are, right? We're really just a compilation of all of the experiences. And some
Yeah,
of us don't get to start our life with like the best of experiences, and that molds us into who we are. And
sure.
some of
And
us
that's
are
actually,
narcissists, some of us are bipolar, some are,
and
whatever.
and this actually brings up a good point because the first video I saw of yours I commented on was you were reading a book about the female brain.
Yeah.
And in that book, you were describing what they found about how women experience love or sex drive, or even how they choose mating partners and how men differ from that. And I thought that was something we're so scared of. Why are we so scared of our own body's biology and how it kind of
Yeah.
makes us believe or act a certain way? Because if we can understand that this is our baseline, if this is typically where most people, not everybody, but most people start from, it's a really good understanding that, yeah, these are biological impulses. You should feel ashamed. Women
Yeah.
should not feel ashamed that they want a man who's really strong, who can earn a lot of money, because what does that mean? That means back in the old days, that was someone who could protect them and care for them and
Yep.
the children, and which is really important. And then same thing for men. Men are looking for young, attractive women who can bear children
Yeah,
and all this
exactly.
kind of stuff. So that's what the male drive might be. No, it doesn't mean we are our lizard brain or what you want to call it. We don't
Right.
have to do that, but it does explain where we start from. And I think if people could just step back and say, you know what, I am a human, my brain is automatically making me believe or want certain things because of my biology. Is that healthy for me? Is that really important in this day and age?
Hmm.
Does someone making, I'm not a hunter gatherer anymore. I don't need someone do I really need someone that can really feel that hunter gatherer role and make all this money? Do I really need that? As for a man, do I really need a 20-year-old
Yeah.
curvy woman to bear my children if I'm no longer interested in having children anymore, right? If I
Yeah.
only want children, does that really matter to me? And then it's also like you talked about one time, it's about how we perceive things of the world through our brain. And all those chemicals are running through there dictates how we see the world. And
Yeah.
how I see it compared to how you see it we can look at the exact same thing. We're both going to interpret it differently.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's another part where people fail, is that's where the communication is so important, right? Because it's how do I perceive what you are perceiving, and how are you perceiving what I'm perceiving? If we can get on that conversation and just basically get a better understanding of people, I think that would like kind of diminish our own ego.
Oh,
That I'm
absolutely.
always right. This is what's right because of what I see. And another perspective just allows you to open up your eyes and have a little more empathy and understand that, yeah, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, that might not be the reality. That's just my reality.
Yeah. And that's even a difficult thing to try and explain to a lot of people, right? Is like there's only one reality, is what a lot of people say. And I'm like, well, that's not entirely accurate. There's my reality, and I get to decide within my reality what impacts it and what doesn't. So if you say something like, the war in Ukraine doesn't really affect me, and suddenly everybody's outraged, how can you say that? Well, because at this current time, it's really not impacting me in any kind of like proximal way, not physically anyway, not in a way that's actually like, oh, suddenly I can't cook a meal tonight for my child. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
it's important, and that reality falls in line with that truth. There's only one truth, right? And it's like, uh, well, I've taken some time and dove down the philosophical rabbit holes, and the old philosophers would have never said such a ridiculous thing. There's not one truth. Truth is subjective, right? The truth actually changes with the time periods. It changes from perception, but what that doesn't mean that like what another person is saying isn't their truth. But to try and get everybody on this idea to what consider nuance, consider the gray space. Not everything is black and white. It's like you're asking them to decide that up is down and down is up. And it's like, well, it's not that serious, actually. It's just, how about my lived experience is different than yours, and you're willing to just agree to that, because disagreeing with it is just, you don't even have the evidence to disagree, right? You weren't even in my proximity to disagree with whether or not that experience was real for me or not. So let's just, you
Right.
know what I mean? And it's like, I think with the rise of social media and the rise of everybody feeling obligated to opine on everything, then they, I don't know, develop this almost narcissistic attitude, and that it's only my way. We can only do it this
Yep.
way. Nothing will ever change. And well, I mean, there's some truth to that, right? Jean Twenge, she's a clinical researcher. She wrote a book called The Narcissism Epidemic. I want to say almost 10 years ago now. And what she was finding after they did a study on social media was essentially narcissism is on the rise. And it is attributed by how much time we're spending on the internet and how much time we're just reaffirming in echo chambers, like what we already believe, but then not considering who told you to believe that, And then you ask
Yeah,
somebody
absolutely.
that, have you never reconsidered your beliefs? Why would I do that? Why would my parents lie to me? Well,
Hmm.
don't you ever just want to be curious and think outside the box and stop repeating and regurgitating the same thing everybody else is saying, because it gets really redundant, And it's
Yeah.
like the same old thing. And if we were more open-minded to just, I don't, maybe even just, let's not talk about all that crap that these programs keep wanting us to talk about. How about like we
Hmm.
talk about something completely different? And it's like people are, well, I don't want to get that deep and I don't want to get that personal, and that's none of your business. And why is politics our business?
Right.
Why is what's going on with these government people our business, really? I don't know. I just think we focus on the wrong things. We allow
Yep.
too many distractions to interrupt us. And then
Yep.
we get so cocky and conceited in what we believe that it's that threat of self-doubt, I think, that activates us to that anger, where we
Hmm.
start fighting rather than going, wait, maybe I don't know what's going. Maybe I don't
Yep.
know, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this brings up a point. Like I never felt that I loved my partner more, that a relationship was stronger than being on TikTok and watching all these toxic videos from both sides,
Mhm.
misogynistic men
Mhm.
and misandrous women, I guess you want to call it. And it's I could see where they're coming from. They're both coming from a place of hurt,
Oh,
right? These
yeah.
men are feeling rejected by society. They're feeling like they're being left behind. They're
Mhm.
feeling like the deck is stacked against them. And then these women are feel like they're fighting so hard for their place in the world, and they're still struggling for equality, and yet they believe they're raising themselves up, but men aren't following them up, and that men are just being what do I want to use the word, taking them for granted or not trying hard enough, right?
Yeah.
And so you get these toxic views. And what's funny is there is a person on TikTok who considered himself a men's coach. And he popped up my feed one time. I watched a couple of his videos. I responded to one of his things. I said, hey, have you ever thought that maybe the way you're communicating to men isn't very approachable to men? You're being too aggressive. Would you be talking to men like this in real life? And he responded, no, I wouldn't. But you already know that this is the way I can reach out to these men now. The interesting thing is that he took my comment and decided to run a little test. He made 2 separate videos, both with the same meaning, same intent behind it, but completely different ways of presenting it. One was very aggressive, accusatory, and the other was more discussion-like. Different titles, same meaning, everything else.
Mm-hmm.
These are the same day. And he asked the people, he said, which one do you think got more views, more likes, more shares? He goes, I'll tell you one thing. I thought they're going to be really close, but they were not. One of them drastically outperformed the other. Which one do you think it was? The one that was more aggressive, or the one that's more calm and collected, whatever? Overwhelmingly, it was the aggressive one. All the had all the engagement. It had all the shares, right? Is because it was coming from a place of negativity. Men, here's how you're failing your marriage. Men, here's what you're doing wrong. Here's how you need to fix it. The other one was like, are you worried your marriage is failing? Do you want to know how to fix it? Right. And what was happening is, if you look into those videos, the people that were commenting, sharing, were angry women, right? They're the ones who are sharing it and stuff like that. So they're the ones who are doing all the shares and all the views and all the comments. But his target was supposed to be men. But his algorithm was giving him women. And this is what's happening, in my opinion, with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all these social media platforms, is that they are creating a version of you that you may not want presented. They are basically feeding you this curated content because you may have watched a video one time. So they send you another one.
Well, and you know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So basically what's happening is that I watched one video, which wasn't even a negative video about relationships. And then another one came on and it was beautiful stuff, right? But then the negative stuff started coming up. And then I started watching those, and then more negative and more negative and more negative. Eventually what happened was my For You page on TikTok was nothing except for relationship and negativity.
Oh my gosh.
Even though originally I looked for cars, I looked for comedy, I looked for video games. That's what my initial settings were for TikTok when I started for the first time. And that's what happened. My partner says that she has to go every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and completely purge that and start all over. It feels like she's got to start her searches all over again, because it starts sending her into this weird hole of negativity. And you could say subconsciously, maybe that's what we're looking for, right? Like maybe subconsciously we're looking at it because human nature, we love drama. We love all that stuff. But the toxicity of that's hitting everybody every single day on these little screens is just telling them how the relationship is bad, how these people are bad. These are red flags. These are narcissists. This, the war in Ukraine, the pharmaceutical companies, this politician slept with this person. It's just all negative.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we're not happy anymore as a society.
You're so right. And, you know, so this concept about how the algorithm works, you know, and I've watched TikTokers who want to teach you how to get in the algorithm, get followers, get exchanges, right? Get engagement. And, you know, one of the things they always tell you is you need to hit on that pain factor. That the goal is to activate the pain factor, because when you activate the pain factor, you're speaking to the widest audience possible, because who can't relate to pain, right? Also, you have that aggression, you have that anger, you have that reactivity energy just right there in the introduction. And it's like, you know, what humans do is we do gravitate towards energy. But now it's like, which energy gives you the most dopamine hits? The negative energy does, because that shit lingers with you for days. You can get into it in a comment field in a TikTok video, right? And that shit can linger with you for a whole week. You can be upset about it, right? I mean, and I'm guilty of that.
Right.
I've
Yep.
gotten so activated. I'm like, huh, who does this
Hmm.
person think he is? Da, 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 you know? And
Right.
before you know it, you've granted so much headspace to someone you don't even know who said
Rent free.
something so negative, right? And I always think, what we're not doing is we're not grounding ourselves before we go on social media, right? And so the first tinge of that aggressive reactive energy, we're sucked in, right? And I think everybody unconsciously knows this. Our egos draw out our egos. The dark energy seeks out the dark energy, and that is just what fuels the fire. And, it's funny that you mentioned all the stuff you see on TikTok. Me and my husband, when we were in bed the other night, scrolling on our phones, which we shouldn't be doing, but we were just laying there before we went to bed, and I could just hear him scroll, scroll. Like, he's not even on there 2 seconds. And I'm like, all I can hear is fear, 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 panic, panic, anxiety, fear, fear, aggression, pain, and I think it's true what they say, fear sells better than sex does, right? And that's probably why nobody's having sex anymore.
Hmm.
But we're all activated, we're all reactive. And here's the thing about reactivity and activation, right? Emotionally speaking, especially when we're talking about a woman's brain. When a woman is activated, when a woman is feeling aggressed or threatened or activated or frustrated, literally her oxytocin shuts off, right? All that's activated is cortisol. Oxytocin is what gets her in the mood. That is shut off. Now, how many women are spending hours on TikTok every night before bed, shutting their oxytocin off, right? Activating high cortisol levels, which is not good right before bed. You're not going to be
Hmm.
able to sleep restfully, right?
Right.
Waking up in that cortisol activation because you took it to bed with you, and then redoing it every day, right? I mean, I've talked to so many women. They're like, I'm just not in the mood. I'm not in the mood. And I'm like, can you put your phone down? Try
Hmm.
that. Try connecting with your husband, not your phone,
You're
right?
right.
And that's the biggest distraction for our connection right now is these phones and how it activates us emotionally. And I know men are like, I don't get activated emotionally.
Oh
We all
yeah.
do.
Right.
Human beings are literally
Right.
emotional creatures. That's what distinguishes us from every other species. And so when our emotions are activated, right, and the negative hormones are being pumped out, nobody wants to get close and touch and be
Hmm.
affectionate and love and horizontal refreshments. They
Right.
want to just keep poking at the ego and activating it, feeling
Right.
feisty and frisky, and let's fight.
You said anger is more stronger than sex or whatever. And here's the thing, right? So you're talking about that couple that sits there and they scroll, and what happens is oxytocin and the cortisol. What happens if they have a pretty good relationship? Nothing's really wrong, and she scrolls and watches a video, and it's complaining about this other husband who didn't take out the trash, and how that made that woman feel. And then they start talking, and these videos start talking about the relationships and all these things that these people are doing bad. Suddenly she might look at her own relationships like, you know what? This jackass didn't take out the garbage 2 days
Oh,
ago.
trust me, she does. I've done that. Like,
Yeah.
I've started a fight with my husband because something on a TikTok upset me. And I had to go, I'm sorry. This was a TikTok, but yeah, as you were saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, right there is showing that a relationship that didn't have an issue now has an issue because of something on social media.
Yeah.
And my partner and I, she loves light touch. She loves it. It's like it's for her, it's better than sex and doesn't not even sensual. I mean, it's kind of sensual, but mostly it's just nothing very sexually whatever. And almost every night, that's how I put her to sleep. Right. So she's getting that and she loves it. It puts her into such a deep sleep. I feel connected to her because of that, because
Hmm.
I'm a physical person. So like just having her skin underneath mine just feels so good. So that's like our routine. And I noticed that I do not sleep as well. I don't have as good of a day if that doesn't happen. Right.
Aw.
Like I become so reliant on it for myself, that, and I'm trying to work on that, right? Like I shouldn't be so reliant on that. Um,
Well,
it
touch is a natural
it
antidepressant.
is, it is, but it is, but like at the same time, like I'm trying to be extremely aware of my own issues, right? Like
Mm.
nobody's perfect. I have my own hangups. I was in a sexless marriage for years, right? So rejection, I still deal with that. Like it still
Mm.
hurts me to my core. because every single time I'm not every single time I'm rejected, but when I'm rejected, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, this is the start. This is where it's starting.
Oh, yeah.
This is where it's gonna begin. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be in a sexless relationship now. And it like that's the first emotion that hits me. And it
Mm-hmm.
really, I have to really pay attention to that. That's not true. I struggle with it, to try to bring myself out of that moment. Okay, this is not the same relationship. This is not the same woman.
Yeah.
This is just her for whatever reason, not feeling the mood, not feeling frisky, whatever. That has nothing to do. It's not going to lead down the path that you're already with. But it's a trauma, right? I
Yeah.
mean, being in a sexless relationship and the kind of things that put me through, not just as a man, but as a person, right? So you start questioning your physical appearance,
Yeah.
your uh your abilities as a lover. You start questioning if you are doing enough for them. Are you enough for them? And it puts you in this cycle of constant self, I don't know what you want to call it. There's a word for it. Basically, you constantly put yourself down because you feel like you're not good enough. And then that cycle just gets repeated over and
Yeah.
over and over again, and it destroys who you are as a person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then when you get out of that relationship and you start building yourself back up, you're like, yeah, everything's great. And then you get rejected in a relationship after, who knows, 6, 7 months. The first time it happens, and you're like, and it hurts. It's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like I was just rejected. So, I mean, after 7 years, she's not that woman. She's not going to turn this into a sexual relationship, but I still have that fear of rejection. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to work on it. I really am. She's an amazing partner. I talk about this with her. I just said, hey,
That's good.
I have this fear of rejection. Like, it physically hurts me when I'm rejected because I go into this emotional state where I'm just afraid. And she's like, you have to live in the present. I'm not that. And I'm like, yes, I know. And so we talk about things that most couples would never even broach the subject. Cheating, swinging. I mean, we talked about that kind of stuff the first year of relationship, right? Get a baseline, and what's funny
Yeah.
is like what we talked about, and we talked about what our fears were with each of those things. And as the years progressed, those fears kind of went away and changed.
Yeah.
And what we thought was such a big deal isn't such a big deal. We can understand how someone can be polyamorous. We can understand why someone might want to do swinging. We understand how cheating can happen.
Yeah.
Um, so we got ourselves into a new kind of relationship where there's not a single thing that either of us is afraid to come together with, no matter how awful we think it is. If, like I said, she's a narcissist. If she starts flirting with someone and she thinks she might have crossed the line, she knows she can come to me and talk to me about it.
That's
Mhm.
awesome. And that sounds like a very healthy process for really almost a preventative kind of process, right? Like, let's talk about the things that scare us before we start hiding the things that scare us. And it sounds like that would be such an immensely helpful resource to add to like your overall kind of conflict resolution plan for your marriage or your relationship, right? Is how do we handle the things that we're scared of? And the way that you go to her and you share that with her, and then she affirms you, right? And tells you what you need to hear. I mean, that's only going to add on to your healing process too, right?
Mhm.
And then the other thing, if you are ever just really internally struggling with something like that, one thing I encourage people to do is just create an affirmation for yourself when that fear monster pops up, right? Like immediately that self-doubt kind of activates, like, and I've been there, right? Like, and so what we have to do is we just have to remember, like, she loves me. I am love. I am good enough, right? Do I accept me, or am I feeling like I'm rejecting myself right now? Because a lot of times the feelings that conjure for us because of the result of an action or a stimuli externally is often really doesn't have a lot to do with that. What it more so does is activates a sensational experience from our past, right? Maybe puts you in that zone. And I wonder if when these fears present themselves, if you ever try and take them further back in your childhood to examine an origin of
Oh,
this
oh
rooting.
yes.
Have you?
Hmm.
Yeah. And what have you
Uh-huh.
discovered with that?
I love differently because of my childhood. To be extremely personal, but I was sexually abused at a very young age.
Okay. Okay.
Happened on Christmas morning.
Oh,
My parents went out to get
sorry.
batteries for a toy. This gentleman was at the house, supposed to be watching me. He brought me to the bathroom. And then my parents came home, and I told my mom, and the look on her face, right? At that moment, as a 5-year-old boy, I thought she was mad at me, right? I thought she was disgusted with me. And
Mm.
that I carried that for a long time. In fact, it wasn't until my mid 20s I actually remember that I was abused, because I kept having these weird dreams, and the sexual acts that were taking place. It makes sense to me because I was remembering as a 5-year-old. These things don't make sense to a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I was still dreaming of these things, and like it didn't make sense until for some reason, like it was like 23 or 24, like it just clicked. And I'm like, that that's what that was. That wasn't what you were thinking because you were 5. That was something else. And then when I remembered that, things started making sense about my what I craved in the bedroom and stuff like that. And then after the years, and now with my new partner, I really examined the way I fear. I do everything I can to make other people happy because I was so afraid to make my mom mad at me, right? The person who loves me the most, she was so disappointed in me and so mad at
Mm.
me during Christmas, which is when you're supposed to get gifts and be happy, right? So Christmases after that weren't, I was always anxious. I was so afraid for Christmas, right? Like I was like, oh,
Mm.
like I'm gonna be just, disappointment and stuff like that, and birthdays and all this other kind of stuff. And then my partner was like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Nothing. What do you want for your birthday? Nothing. Right. Because it was the fear of the past, right? Like a very joyous thing became something so sour. And
Yeah.
then also how I go to try to show my affections for people is I didn't feel like I got the love from them, but I felt love internally by giving love externally. So
Yeah.
I was filling my love cup up by loving others. Making them happy made me extremely happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I formed relationships. All my romantic relationships, I've always been the one who gave and gave and gave and allowed to be in relationships where I wasn't getting anything in return because I was being satiated by my own love for someone else,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
Which put me in a dangerous place with my current partner when I felt that a relationship change that we were having was going to not give me the little bit of love that I kind of needed from her to keep my cup completely full.
Yeah.
I felt that was going to go away. And then that was just, it broke me. I'm like, oh my God, like I don't allow myself to be loved nearly enough as I love someone else. And if I'm only allowing so little bit of love to come into my own personal cup, there's nothing there that can be lost. As soon as anything is taken away from there, I'm left feeling like I'm not loved.
Mm.
And that's where I believe part of it led to my breakup of my marriage. I allowed the act of horizontal refreshment, as you would say, whatever, to be an act of love, right? Like to show me love and affection. So when that went away, I say my partner never had to do anything else for me, never had to say I love you or buy me little gifts or do acts of service. I did all those things, but I never got any of those in return. Soon
Mm.
as the little thing that kind of made me feel loved was taken away, I just felt like I wasn't worth anything, in a relationship.
Yeah. And I wonder if now moving forward, too, that even if your wife maybe doesn't have the time to fill up your love cup, you can do it yourself, right?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
can love yourself and you can give yourself the validation and the witnessing, especially when your childhood memories pop up, right? The thing I always like to do is when my childhood memories activate, I try and just go visit myself and like tell myself what I needed to hear that probably my mom or my dad couldn't give me at the
Yeah, that's
time
a good point.
because they just didn't have the tools or resources, but I do now, right? And so when my activations surge, that's the one thing I do. And I'm like, I am just being a scared little girl right now. And that's because at some moment in my childhood, I had a need for something here. Can I give it to myself now? Right. And when you think about the power of the mind and what you can do with your mind, you can fill up your own cup. Right. And then your cup can overflow and you don't even ever have to worry about is someone else adding to my cup. I've added enough. My cup just flows, right? And
Yeah.
for me, I kind of think that was the central tenet of Jesus. What he was maybe trying to convey is like when you're aligned with, God, spirit, creator, your faucet's always running, right? The cup's always filling. And sometimes we forget that, right? And so then we're like, no, I need an external filler, but
Mhm.
what if you both serve you well?
Right.
You
Yeah.
can fill and then other times other people can fill and then you can fill for them and all that stuff. And so that's always That's just a good way to when that scared little boy shows up, when scared little
Mm,
Brad shows up, like, how can I go greet him and give him what he needs so that I'm feeling okay now and I'm not worrying about my cup being emptied, so to
yeah.
speak. Yeah.
Very, very good idea. Yeah. Like I said, it takes a lot to have the
Yeah.
introspective of yourself to identify
Oh
behaviors and
yeah.
what caused you to have those behaviors.
Oh yeah.
And even though I can understand why, it's still hard to change,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So it's always worked, just like narcissism. You're
Hmm.
telling me that this is what I can do to help, right? But we don't tell narcissists, here's what you can do to kind of like maybe make a change in your life. And I keep on going back to the narcissism just because, like, I feel like you said, they get such a bad rap.
Yeah.
We want to discredit them. We want to say there's no hope for them. And I'm thinking, where are all these 80-year-old, 9-year-old narcissists? Where are these 70-year-old narcissists? Where'd they go?
Yeah.
Like, are they really that bad at 70 still? Are they really that bad at 80? I don't know. I can't think of any narcissists. I can't remember any grandparents that were narcissists. I can think of in my mind. So did they change? Did the
Yeah.
narcissism no longer benefit them and now they became different people? If that's the case, then why can't narcissists in their 30s or 40s be different or 20s be different?
Yeah.
Um, so, like I said, my partner is an amazing woman. I can't believe the progress she's made. I'm proud of her every day. I tell her every day when she tells me these things and confesses like how she's feeling and what the choices she's made. I remind her every day that even though you recognize you don't feel the empathy, but you recognize that you should feel empathy at that moment is a huge step. You could see it. Yes, although I don't feel empathy for the fact that this person might have thought I was flirting with them, I do realize that I probably should feel empathy towards them
Yeah.
because that means that she's recognizing her own behaviors and she's recognizing that she does have an impact and what she does matters. And that's something that for many narcissists, they don't, right? They just don't
Yeah.
care. They do what they want. So I believe that most narcissists, and like I said, most women you believe, or they were said there are narcissists to a certain level.
Oh yeah.
Men are too,
Oh,
right? Like we are.
definitely.
Everybody is. It's
Right.
just like we go to a certain other narcissists are just more narcissistic.
Yeah.
Um, but it's crazy how we can look back like, oh, that person's a narcissist, and they're so evil, and then never look into ourselves and say, well, I've done that, and I've done the same
Exactly.
kind of thing.
Yes.
You know.
And like, right. And the way people try and narrow down individuals too. And then, of course, it's like all the people who are so freely label other people as narcissists. It's like, have you even taken a psychology class? Like, let alone have a degree? And do you understand like the depth and studying that is required to even be able to really properly identify a narcissist from a not right? And so it's like, rather than us trying to diminish people and label people and go out of our way to be like, this person is a narcissist, what I think is more important is whatever that person showed you, are you really denying that you saw a reflection of yourself in that behavior? You know, like you said, like we all act a certain way. These traits that are often labeled as narcissistic traits are also human traits.
Mm-hmm.
And we all gaslight, we all love bomb, we
Yep.
all try and go out of our way to make up for something we fucked up on real big time. And then we stop because we're like, well, everything's okay now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, if I can be totally honest, I think, and speaking for a woman, I am 4 different people once a month, okay? And, sometimes I'm crazy, and other times I just cry over everything, and other times I'm highly sexual, and other times I'm highly creative. And if we're willing to, like, stop trying to box women into, like, this one general collective blah, blah, and just, women are a variance of a
Mm-hmm.
creature, and she reveals herself to degrees throughout the month, and you don't want to box her in and generalize her. And then if we go over to men and do the same thing, like
Right.
they are consistent, patternized, habitual creatures who are literally wired for aggression and sex. Okay. If we don't understand these basic biological foundations of our wirings and the benefit of these wirings, hello, civilization still
Mm-hmm.
prevails.
Yeah.
Um, we're just always going to be butting heads, assigning labels, and finding ways to basically say people are irredeemable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the purpose of a relationship is so you can see a reflection of yourself in the other person and go, oh my
Oh
God,
yeah.
I really am not alone in this
Yeah.
universe. And here
Yeah.
you are, but oh my God, we're actually really alike. Yes, men and women are very freaking different. But like when we get into that love partnership, you and me are the same. We're one,
Mhm.
right? You reflect me, I reflect you. And the judgment and the keeping record of wrongs and the who's worse and who's more, all
Yeah.
that stuff has to go out the window. And we have to just the person in front of us, the person in front of
Mhm.
us, not the narratives that the people want us to attach to the person in front of us,
Yeah.
I think would help us like really disarm and deactivate and really unify and connect. And hopefully eventually we'll get there.
Right.
But I think in just sharing like your experience of being with someone with NPD is super important in letting people know like you even if you think you see narcissism, that doesn't have to be a way for you to go away. That doesn't have to be a reason for you to cut and run. That doesn't have to be a reason for you to think, oh my God, all I do is attract all these horrible
Right.
people, right? It's like,
Absolutely.
what is this person trying to reflect for you? And
Mhm.
the other thing is imago therapy is stipulated on this idea that we are unconsciously drawn to the partners that we are because there's something in them that can help us heal our unhealed wounds. And actually they might have the same unhealed wound, you know? And isn't that amazing that like through love you can heal? And
Absolutely.
isn't that what we should focus on? Not here's all my brokenness. Yeah, your brokenness, blah, blah, blah. Love heals it though. So like bring it into the love and then be willing to see the reflection that your
Yeah.
partner shows you in that mirror, right?
Yeah. It's amazing because one thing is like, my partner and I communicate so much. And one thing she's told me time and time again is that it's the fact she feels that she can be herself.
Mm,
She can truly be herself, which means that she can dress how she wants. She can talk to who she wants. She can do all this kind of stuff. And she said it's the first time in her life she's ever felt that way. The freedom to feel like she's not being controlled or someone's trying to change her. And as a man, I know that feeling, right? I've been in relationships where people try to change you. We
yeah.
get this idea that we must change our partner. And that because and here's the thing, we're telling them that they're not perfect. Well, yeah, they're not perfect. But now we're telling them that they're not perfect for us, that they need to be different
Yeah.
if we're going to love them. And it's such a horrible thing to put on somebody
Mm,
that you don't deserve their unconditional love unless you check these boxes that you need to fix about yourself. So here's all the negative things you are. Fix these and I'll love you unconditionally.
yeah.
And my partner and I, we love each other unconditionally. We will bury bodies for each other. She comes to me and says, hey,
Ride or die.
I need you to pack a shovel. I'm right
Yeah.
there. I'm right
Yeah.
there. Like no questions asked. Right. And the unconditional love aspect is where, I can it's the truth of that. It's the idea that your partner can confess things and they can hurt your feelings. They can do something inadvertently to really hurt your soul.
Hmm.
At the same time, you realize that they still love you. You love them. This is just something that you guys can work through, you guys
Yeah.
communicate through, and that especially was inadvertently. It was an accident. They didn't mean to do it. They didn't realize that this was going to hurt you because of something, or they said something they didn't realize you're going to take that way because today you're in a mood to take it wrong, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to like just sit there with you and be like and work things out, work these emotions out, and let you have those emotions, cry, vent a little bit, but at the end of it all, you still come together
Yeah.
because that's what's so important. And I think the biggest thing that's struggling in society right now for relationships is the social media negativity. We are surrounded by negativity. We feed off negativity. I think we're allowing this negativity to destroy our own relationships because we're hearing love bombing. Oh my God, love bombing? What is that? Oh, that's when someone like starts giving you gifts and is very attentive and all this kind of stuff. Like, oh my God, that's what this guy's doing right now. He's love bombing me. I better stop. Maybe he just really likes you,
I
right?
know,
Like
right?
maybe he's trying to show that he likes you so much and he's so into you and he sees a future with you that he wants to do everything he can to make you happy. Maybe it's not love bombing where
Maybe
he's
it's just
gonna like
wooing. He's
maybe
a
it's wooing.
wooer. Men are
Yeah,
supposed to woo women, aren't they?
right. I know, and that's just something that women wanted, right? For a
I
long
thought
time, women
so.
wanted flowers. They
And now
wanted
they're like, no, I don't want the. Well, what do you want,
because love
woman?
bombing. Because now is love bombing, right?
Yeah.
And just like the narcissist, everybody's a narcissist now.
Yeah.
And gaslighting right now, everybody's a gaslighter. Everybody's gaslighting now. Half these people don't even know what the term gaslighting
Oh,
means.
I
They
know.
use it incorrectly all the time. If I disagree with you, doesn't mean I'm gaslighting you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what people understand, right? Like they're
Yeah.
like, if you disagree with me, you're gaslighting me. You're trying to tell me that I'm my realities. And I'm like, again, we talk about reality. How you perceive something might not be the way it's being perceived. If you try to tell someone that, you're
Hmm.
gaslighting them now.
Yeah.
So if they're like, yeah, my boyfriend, like he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, and then you say, well, does he think you really need that, or have you communicated that? You're just gaslighting me because I'm like, oh God, the conversation's over. And I really do try to post only positive comments at TikTok videos.
Yeah.
If I see something and I try to, even if it's a negative topic and it even has a negative connotation to it, it's in a light for sympathy or empathy, never in rage or anger.
Yeah.
So there's a video on TikTok about some dating show, and some guy the woman was so mean to him and stuff like that. And my comment is the worst part is this man is going to have, because of my own personal understanding, is going to have a fear of rejection going forward. And he's going to carry that in other relationships.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a negative comment, but it wasn't that woman's such a horrible person and you got to avoid people like that. It was like, here's empathy towards this man, here's what he's going to feel
Yeah.
going forward. So maybe some people, and the one of likes that God is most like comment ever made, but it's people reading it, understanding it, right? They're like, yes. So now
Yeah.
maybe those people, when they get into a relationship and someone's telling them about, like their partner constantly rejected them when it came to anything, any kind of like quality time together, horizontal refreshments, or any other kinds of need they wanted. They were being rejected constantly. Maybe they can look and say, you know what? Maybe they are going to have a negative reaction if I do this to them. It doesn't mean I have to,
Yeah.
but now maybe I can try to explain why I can't do this thing for them, why I can't go to the movies with them today, or why we're not going to have sex today. Instead of just saying no, be like, hey, I would love to. Other things came up or
Yeah.
whatever. Because, like I said, as someone who deals with problems with rejection, just telling me no, that's going to activate, right? But telling me, sorry, I would love to, but I can't because that does wonders, right?
Hmm.
And that's what a lot of people understand about everything in every aspect of relationship. It's how we communicate. You
Yeah.
can't just say you got to communicate. If you don't know how to communicate to your partner, then all you're doing is communicating the wrong way, and they're not going to be able to communicate back. So
Yeah.
anybody, it doesn't matter. Like, just because I'm a man and you're a woman doesn't mean you can communicate with me the way you understand and communicate with yourself, because I'm not going to understand that.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not going to read
That
between the weird lines, you
that
know?
is so important. Not only that, but also like we have to be mindful that even though we think we already know what we want to say, we have to consider is what we're saying what our partner wants us to say, right? And if we're not willing to negotiate through that choice, then I would say you're not really ready to be in a relationship, because I think the biggest part about relationships most people miss is relationships ask you to step up your responsibility level, right? Like I hear so many people like, this is what I bring to the table and this is what I do and da, da, da. And I'm like, good, you're a big boy. You can wipe your own ass.
Mhm.
Any grown adult can. Can you be responsible for someone outside of yourself? That's why we go, you know what? I'm super responsible. I can wipe my own ass. I can feed my own face. I wonder if I could do a relationship and wipe somebody else's ass and
Mhm.
feed, I know that's such a simplistic way to look at it, but it's like we pat ourselves on the back for, I pay rent, I have a house. Good job. You adulted. Marriage is about, I want to be responsible beyond my own self serving concerns. And I want to provide for the wants and desires of another person. That's an upgrade. That's an
Mhm.
optimal, purposeful, meaningful life where you're going beyond yourself. It's not just about, hey, I'm surviving. Yeah, I kept myself alive for 30 years. Good job. Any idiot can do that.
Mhm.
Can you take care of other people, right? And yourself, right? And then that's the balance we struggle with. I think women do this more, especially mothers. Oh, I'm going to take care of everybody else. And then you let yourself go to shit.
Mhm.
So we have to find the balance. It's about, yeah, take care of yourself as a grown ass adult, but also when you sign up for this relationship ordeal, that's you going, more responsibility, please. Give it to me. Let me
Mhm.
prove myself to you. Not, I don't have to do it. Because like you're not just a one anymore. You're a we, right? It's not just about you and me. It's a we thing. And so it's adding on the responsibility of everything that dynamic brings to you. And I often hear so many people go, that's a her problem, that's a him problem. That's not. No, that's literally not how it works in long-term relationships. If you are getting intimately, romantically involved with someone in a committed long-term ordeal, it's never, no, you're not a me anymore. You're a we. And then everything is our issue to work through together.
Absolutely.
So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. The the idea of being in love, right? Like if we examine how it makes us feel and what we do to try to gain love, and then we stop, right? We get into long-term relationships and we stop. We don't do those things that made the other person fall in love with us.
Yeah.
You know, like the love bombing, right? Like, and in our relationship, it's we're both constantly trying to fill the other's cup. We're like, I will go above and beyond.
Like
I
out
like it.
serving each other.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's
Awesome.
funny, like there's all these men that make jokes about like they sit down on the couch and then their partner asks for a glass of water. See those TikToks? They're all over the place. They make jokes. They're they're kind of like making these videos of that's a bad thing. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't believe she's doing that to me. Instead of being like, you know what? Like, this shows how much I care for her because even though I just sat down, I'm willing to get up and get her that drink with a smile on my face because
Yeah.
I care for her. I'd
Yeah.
rather me be uncomfortable, me have to stand up and do this than
That.
her do that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think as men, I feel a lot of men want to do that. We want to be the provider. We want to protect. We want to do all these masculine things to make our partners, our women, whatever, safe and
Yeah.
cared for. But yet we kind of get upset when they want us to do that. And I
Yeah.
don't understand why a lot of men get upset doing that. And I think that's what these women are doing. Honestly, I think when we sit down, it's not really a test. I think it's more of a they are doing this because they want that act of service from you. They
Yeah.
want that feeling that he just did this for me.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly, please ask me what you want. I'll do it.
I
Not that I'm
love,
going to roll over, but like,
yeah.
yes, that's right. I need that. Let me show you how much I love you. Right.
Yeah, outserve each other, right? And that's something like John Gottman has talked about in through the Gottman Institute. And he's a world-renowned clinical researcher and relationship therapist. And that's one of the things that he often says that marriage is about. It's just about outserving each other, right? Outserving your best friend. And I mean, right, like even today, it was funny, something similar happened. I was outside having a cigarette. My husband doesn't smoke. And I had one. And then some time went by and I was like, oh, I should have brought both my cigarettes out. I want another one because we were just talking. And we're the same distance away from going in the house to get my cigarettes. But he's like, I'll get it. He doesn't smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I joked and I said, this is all anybody wants, right?
Yeah,
We are at the equal distance. And you're like, no, baby, I got you. And I
absolutely.
would do the same for my husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he'll say something like, babe, I'm hungry and I don't know what to eat. Do you want me to make you something? Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. And then he's like grateful all day. Right. And it's like,
Absolutely.
what do you want me to do? Tell me. And we have kind of a similar dynamic. It's like, we don't walk around like expecting to read each other's minds.
Mm-hmm.
And when we need help or we need something from each other, we ask for it. When we want something from each other, we ask for it. But in that weird cheerful servants, like we always just want to give to each other. Like, yeah, babe, what do you want me to do for you?
It becomes a
That's
game.
it almost, right? And it's like, who's gonna do more
Yep.
loving actions
Yep.
today? And who's gonna be more grateful today? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the competition we should have with each other, not you're a bigger asshole than I am. Nope, you're both assholes. Go see if you can go out appreciate each other, right? Go
Right.
out complimenting, praise each other. These are the competitions we should have instead
Yep.
of the diametrically opposed, you are my enemy. Because that's the thing that I agree with you, right? Like I scroll TikTok and I'm like, I'm so glad I have my husband. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
I'm so glad. Because I think who are these miserable people who stay in these relationships and then just spend all their time bitching about it?
Mm-hmm.
And all they have is resentment and pain. And I get it. If we carry that pain around and if we don't feel it and heal it, we're always in it. right? And so again, love comes in. Love is that healing power. And these people are resisting love, resisting that healing power, all because they feel so self-righteous in their anger and their rage and their resentment and how they were wronged and victim mentality. And I'm like, what happened to victor mentality?
Right.
What
Yeah.
happened to overcoming and going, screw you people and your status quo ideas. I'm going to do me. We're going to do us. We're going to outlove each other. Right?
Hmm.
Where is that? I
Yeah.
wish.
Yeah. One of
Well,
the things that I actually fell in love with my partner for, which is so weird, right? Because this is how it was supposed to happen. Um, my partner was so appreciative of everything I did for her.
mm,
If from the start, right? Like she was a single mom, struggling, right? And for Christmas, we were first started talking, and she was talking about how she was going to secondhand store to buy her son, our son now, gifts for Christmas. And I'm like, no. So I sent her money through Amazon and said, here, buy him this and buy some other stuff. That was the first new thing she was able to buy him. And the gratitude she had, right? Like, because that meant something to her. And I was
mm.
like, oh, wow, this is the first time I've given something and I've gotten like actual gratitude for it. And then throughout our entire relationship, like this, I get her a glass, I ask her if she wants something, I bring it back to the amount of appreciation she has for that, right? Like she'll almost start crying sometimes because I don't have to do those things. I want to do those things. It's going to make me happy. And the fact that she knows I'm happy doing them, like really it just fills up a piece of her heart. And so that's what like constantly pushes me to do more. Like, I mean, woman, like she figured the key. She figured the key to get anything she wants from me, right? Show me that you appreciate it. Show me that you're gracious for it. Really like just let me know that you understand that I'm doing this out of a place of love, and I'll do anything you ask. I'll sell a kidney if it means I can get you something you want, right?
Oh, I love
And that's
that.
how our relationship has been. Is like I'll just send her. She's a stay-at-home mom, right? But does she go out shopping? Does she get her nails done? Yes, she does all the things. And I send her money, if she tells me, like, hey babe, I'm going to Marshall's, I'm whatever. Next thing you know, I'll send her $100 in Venmo. I'm like, here you go. And then like she's not expecting it. She's not asking for it. And then she just gets it. And then she's like, oh, right. Like I actually get to go shopping I wasn't planning, I was gonna go window shopping or whatever. I was letting you know I was in town, right? And it's just like those kinds of acts that I don't have to do. If I stopped doing them, she still loved me. But the fact that I do those because I love her so much and she's so appreciative of them, and she does things in turn to show me how much she loves me, that I just want to keep it going. Like if she does something for me, you better believe that for the next 3 days, I'm trying to outdo it as much as I
Yeah.
can. She bought me a grill for my birthday and took me out with our friends for like a week straight. I can't even remember how much I spent on this woman to show how much I appreciated and felt that love and that connection she gave me, to try to up it and make her feel how I felt at the time, which was such a high state. So I'm like, I'm doing everything I can to push you up to where I was. And that's kind of how we operate at all times. She's constantly doing simple things, stopping at my work unannounced just to say
You
hi.
guys, you guys sound like you have a very healthy dynamic of like implementing bids for connection. Like if I'm just going off of like, right, the Gottman Institute is my go-to place for learning and coaching and relationship education, right? And you're hitting like all of the like success factors, right? And then the one thing that really helps solidify this is that gratitude is a generator of that same energy, right? And so you have this constant circle of gratitude between the two of you. All it can do is generate more love, more appreciation, and
Mhm.
more affection, right? That attitude of gratitude, it's a silly adage, but at the same time, you have no idea what being grateful can actually unlock for you in a
Right.
relationship. All it's simple as thank you so much. I appreciate you. What that can unlock in vulnerability and connection is
Mhm.
just phenomenal. And I feel like we live in a society that is like anti-gratitude, right? Like,
Yep.
I shouldn't have to say thank you. I shouldn't
Yeah,
have to
I
ask
know.
for help. Why shouldn't you? You
Hmm.
shouldn't have to be a decent human being. You shouldn't have to like extend a little bit of civil courtesy. Like, where did you grow up? Like in a prison? Like, why would you
Hmm.
think that we need to get rid of gratitude? Like, when we
Right.
get rid of things to be appreciative of, when we stop seeing the things to be grateful for, then all you have left is things to complain about.
Mhm.
And you have a really dark lens on life, right? And it's
Yep.
like, pick your lens. Which way do you want to see the world? Through the eyes of gratitude or disgust and not enough and I need more, and if he wanted to, he would.
Yeah, I know. And here's the crazy part, right? So you're talking about the God Institute and all the stuff, how relationship is, and she's a narcissist, right? So what really baffles me is I'm hearing and watching TikTok videos of these relationships failing and they're failing and all these issues. And I'm like, you guys are failing on easy mode. Like
Yeah.
I'm with a narcissist who could easily like completely destroy me, right? She has the power to do that. She's done it to
Could
other
have a
men.
very difficult dysfunctional relationship with her. Yeah.
Extremely like she would here's the thing, I could do this podcast, she knows it's happening. If she was the other type of narcissist, right, really controlling, this would not
This would
happen
not happen.
at
No.
all.
No.
She would not have told me she was so happy I'm doing it, and like so excited for me that, but she's a narcissist who has control.
Yeah.
And so when I hear these relationships failing, and I'm like, I I don't get it. I don't get how you guys can fail something that seems so easy when like all the cards should be stacked against our relationship. I mean,
Yeah.
her being a narcissist and my traumas, right? Like this shouldn't work. Um, and it's that, like I said, the gratitude and all that kind of stuff. Like she is a narcissist who uses people to get what she wants. Me giving her stuff, she wouldn't feel gratitude about that if she's being narcissistic.
Yeah.
She would
That's
just
true.
expect it. And that's the part of the change. I mean, that's the type of changes she's made and recognize herself and really connecting. And right now she's on this kick. She was on last week. She was with her mom for a whole week for her birthday. And she came home and she's like, you know what? I'm only living in the moment. I'm not going to focus on the past. I'm not going to focus on the future. I'm not going to live in fear of the future. And she's really pushing it on me and I'm trying, right? It's a very hard concept, but man, the change, this woman can change her personality and her outlook very quickly. And like like I said, I wish I could take the credit for her coming over narcissism, but it really was all her. Um, and I think that's one thing we don't give narcissists enough credit for, is like they do have the power to change. They
Yeah.
can change. They
Yeah, they
can be
just need
better
someone to
people.
believe in them and encourage them and love them and accept
Absolutely.
them through it. And I think, I mean, to a degree, I think the credit here is your love and your acceptance of her and your patience of her, right? Which provides her with the environment and the safety that she needs to
Mm-hmm.
be able to work internally on herself and not feel embarrassed about it, not feel like she's taking time away from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people need, especially when they're going through healing a specific trauma, is they just need their partner to be there for them and hold space for them, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily solve their problems or do it for them. And what you're doing, you encourage her, you appreciate her, you accept her, and you support her, right? You're like, I'll bury a body for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you've shown her you're a safe person. She can
Yep.
be vulnerable with you. And if more couples were willing to do that, and what that
Yeah.
means for you too is that you had to overcome your own fears and vulnerabilities. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially, I'm sure a doubt monster, like, can I handle this? Can I do this? You've got to wrestle against your own ego going, we ain't fucking with this. No, 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 don't screw with this. And you're like, well, I think I have it in me.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to overcome your own self-doubt and your own insecurity and your own fear of rejection. And then that's the power of love and its healing ability, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it does transform us. It transforms our wounds and allows us to move forward in this connection with each other. So, I mean, to those listening, take notes from Brad here and apply. Appreciate, appreciate, appreciate. And with that, I got to wrap here, but I want to thank
Yeah.
you so much,
Well, thank
not
you.
only for reaching out to me and sharing your thoughts and insight, but really for sharing space with me today, sharing your story. Can we just say hello to your wife by first name, just so we don't have her as the narcissist?
Um,
Or does she want to remain anonymous? I just don't
she
want to
kind of
discredit
does.
her. That's
kind
fine.
of does.
That's fine.
Only
The
because she
lovely
does have a
narcissistic
social media
wife.
platform.
Oh,
She's
well,
a social media platform.
we don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt with that. So,
Yeah, but like, yeah, we'll call her Amy. How about that?
okay,
It's
well,
close enough.
sending love to her and just to
Mhm.
let her know I appreciate that you were willing to share parts of her story. It
Yeah,
means a lot.
I'm hoping at one point she wants to talk about herself. She really does. She's captivating. She could command a room. And she feels that narcissism gets a bad rap. And I
Yeah.
think she has more insight into her own behaviors and her own journeys than I do. She's gone through a lot. I I keep on saying how amazing a woman she is, not just because of her narcissism and the fact that she overcame that, but as a genuine human being and how she has changed for the better as a person is like something I strive to do myself. Like I try to be a better person because of watching her make these changes.
I love that.
And
Do you know that's what I say about my husband? Like I always thought like he was such a great man that like he always I feel like Jack Nicholson on as good as it gets. Like, but my husband makes me want to be a better person too. And so I think that's a testament of love, right? It can rupture open this desire to like go, well, I've been okay, but damn, I need to step up my game. Like I need to be
yeah,
as cool as this person I love. And
absolutely.
that's how love just continues to encourage us to keep healing and to keep growing and that transformative agent. If
Yeah.
your wife is ever interested in talking about it, I'd love to invite her on the podcast, but we can, of course, be patient and wait for her time. But again, I just want to thank you so much. I appreciated this conversation. I think it's going to be a benefit to our listeners. And I hope you have a great day, Brad.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
too. I
so
hope
much.
you enjoy spring because it's been really
Oh
nice
my
here.
God, I'm so excited. I've
I
got
know.
seedlings started. I'm starting
Oh,
some more this week. I'm so anxious to get in the garden. I'm a garden freak, so
oh, awesome.
I'm
I'll
excited.
hit you up for some tips because I
I
can't
would love
garden.
to share. I love to. I'll send you some salsa, Brad. I'll send you some
Perfect.
salsa.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Being on the platform. I love your content. I love
Thank
that
you.
you speak from a spot not of like how do I put that? You use knowledge, right? You reference books, you reference the psychological and educational parameters that you've heard and studied over the years to bring a perspective. You're not just someone on here who's got a word life coach because they want to be, because they
Yeah.
could just call themselves anything they want to be on
No,
TikTok or
trust me,
social media,
sometimes I still go, maybe I'm not ready to do this yet. Maybe a few more years, but
right?
I had to
But I
put
love the
myself out
fact
there.
that you are actually citing scientific journals or
Thanks.
scientific books because anybody could say anything. They can blow smoke out of your
Yeah.
ass. They can say anything they want. But when you actually have the book in your hand, you're reading from it, right? And you're telling the people who's watching, like this is what this, and then you say, here's what that means. Here's the behavior you're exhibiting. This is where it's coming from.
Yeah.
It's so important. It makes everything else on here where people are just talking out of their ass. It's like, why are we listening to these people who don't even have any kind of knowledge, don't even own a book like this? And yet they're telling us what's wrong in our relationships. They're telling us what's wrong with us. They're calling us narcissistic and love bombers and gaslighters. And they don't even have the tools to actually educate themselves to help us. And so I
Yeah.
really appreciated your
Thank
channel.
you.
I appreciate your podcast. I've listened to quite a few of those.
Thank you.
They're in the car. I listen to them. I'm on
I
my lunch break and
appreciate
stuff.
that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm gonna finish doing all because you have quite a few. I'm gonna listen to the rest of them and do some more. And I hope
We're
to
gonna
keep
have
in
one more
touch.
now.
Yes, and I hope to keep in touch.
Yeah, me
Um,
too. Definitely.
yeah, amazing. Thank you so much again. I really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Brad. You have a wonderful night.
You
Take
too.
care.
Bye bye.